Hi, my name is Imo and welcome to my channel, In My Opinion. So today I'm going to talk about how to show up for yourself more. And the reason why I'm coming with this video, I like to create videos that are very in tune with things I'm going through in my life. And it's like I teach myself through these videos. And I noticed that there are times in my life where I struggle with showing up for myself, with being there for myself, prioritizing myself. And I find that I often struggle with these times when I am in relationships. So these might be romantic relationships, or there might be like relationships with really close friends or really close group of friends where, you're seeing the same group of friends quite regularly, or, you have a job that is very consuming and quite stressful and demands a lot of your attention. Times when you feel like you're being pulled in so many different directions. It's really a struggle to show up for yourself. So I want to talk about 4 ways that I find to be helpful and I want to practice more, where I can really truly create a habit and a routine and a way of life of showing up for myself. So here we go. So first I want to define what it means to show up for yourself. I feel like this is a term, even like a hype term that has been used quite a bit in this current contemporary day and age, like showing up for myself. And I want to define it for me, like what it means to me. So for me, when I think about this term showing up for myself, I think about it as acknowledging the paramount value you possess. As a sacred and significant being, getting to know and understand this being, which is yourself, prioritizing and meeting your needs, knowing what your needs are, not ignoring or neglecting yourself, and advocating for yourself. I also believe it's making space for yourself and tending to yourself. So when I say myself or yourself, I think it's everything that comprises who you are. So your desires, your needs, your goals, your visions, your ambitions, and so much more. And then I think it's doing all of these things without apology and without exception, because sometimes we show up for ourselves or prioritize ourselves, make space for ourselves up until a certain point, and then we just stop. We don't continue that journey, we don't continue that process, or it's very choppy. It's like in and out, in and out. But when I think of showing up for yourself, I think it's a very habitual, continual practice. Why is it important to show up for yourself? I think showing up for yourself is one of the most important, if not the most important thing that you can do. But the question is why? And very interestingly, if it's one of the most important things we can do, how come it's so hard for us to do it? So I believe it's important because you are the source from which everything flows from. Your connection with everything else in this life, whether it be people, whether it be animals, whether it be situations, things that happen to you, whatever it is, your connection with everything around you is determined by how well you connect to yourself, how well you know yourself, how well you show up for yourself. Everything is linked back to you. If I don't have a good understanding or connection or conception of myself, it's going to be very challenging for me to feel connected to other things or other people around me. I might not even know what that means. So I want to start with the first way that you can show up for yourself is to explore yourself, is to know yourself, is to know who you are. That's done by introspection, by exploring your mind, exploring your inner landscape. I believe it starts on the inside first, setting aside regular time and constant and consistent practices, especially of solitude, to explore your inner landscape and engage in processes of introspection. For example, how can I investigate further into my lack of boundaries with my boss if I am not aware of my people-pleasing tendencies? How can I know more deeply about my fear of being abandoned if I'm not aware of my emotional wound from my childhood, from my upbringing? It's really important to know yourself. It was the Greek philosopher Aristotle who says, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. And the Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu, who says that knowing others is intelligence, but knowing yourself is the true wisdom. So there are so many ways that we can define these terms. These terms are in modern psychology and they are very nuanced and they have their own definitions that can be broken down, but I have my own general definition. So I feel that knowing yourself, engaging in introspection, exploring your inner world is essentially developing and improving your self-conception, how you see yourself. So I will use self-concept or self-conception more loosely to point towards your self-awareness, your self-esteem, your identity, your self-image, and basically your self-conception, how you see yourself, has to do with your beliefs about yourself, your tendencies, your thoughts, your habits, your emotional worlds, your preferences, your hobbies, your skills, your weaknesses, your strengths, your core fears, your wounds, your triggers, your values, your goals, your insecurities, your securities, your ambition, your body sensations, being able to extend empathy towards yourself, like compassion and acceptance, being grateful for your thoughts, for your body, for your emotions, being appreciating and celebrating yourself. It's endless. There are so many things that go into how you see yourself, your self-concept. It's never ending. And that's what is such a beautiful thing about embarking on exploring a relationship with yourself and getting to know yourself, is that you keep growing, you keep evolving. There's things that are happening now, there's things that happened in your past, and your relationship to things is constantly changing. So you will never stop exploring who you are, and that's a very beautiful thing. So how can you engage in this process of exploration in terms of this whole idea of showing up for yourself? So there are so many ways to do it, and I think it depends on your preference and what works best for you. I have found that journaling is a really amazing practice for me in terms of getting to know myself more deeply. Sometimes I will have specific journaling prompts or mental health prompts that I will use. There are so many great websites that have specific prompts that you can use in your journaling, or you can just have a free-for-all and just write about how your day went, or write about what you're grateful for, or write about maybe something that inspired you for the day or something that challenged you for the day. So some really great mental health prompts that I am just seeing when I just go on Google is, what am I grateful for today? How am I prioritizing my self-care today? How can I spread kindness? I get anxious when. What do I love about myself? What makes me feel calm? What are my coping mechanisms? How do I deal when I have a stressful day? What goals do I want to set for this week? What uncomfortable emotions have I felt today, and how did I deal with them? What makes me feel powerful? There are so many mental health or just self-exploration prompts that are out there that I would highly recommend using. You will be greatly and deeply surprised what happens when you journal as a consistent and prioritized practice in your life. It changes how you think about yourself. It gives you a greater sense of awareness in dealing with uncomfortable situations. It gives you a deeper sense of appreciation and gratitude for the emotions. And I feel like it helps you problem solve as well, because you just become so much more aware of your emotional life and what you're thinking and feeling at any given moment, that you're able to create healthy space and healthy distance from those emotions as well. I think the benefits of journaling are endless, and I think what I've said here does not even cover most of them, but maybe that's for another video. I think another way you can explore your inner world is through daily check-ins. They can be check-ins you write, they can be just check-ins you have. You can have routines, like on your way home from work, you think about the 10 things that you are grateful for. You can do self-assessment quizzes. You can see a therapist to talk about different aspects of your inner world. Honestly, there are just so many ways that you can engage in exploring your inner landscape. That can be, I've shared in other videos, but through guided meditations, through prayer, and through other practices of solitude. I feel like another idea that can help you show up for yourself more and create better space for you to interact with yourself and prioritize your needs is through boundaries. Boundaries are extremely important. And sometimes we can see boundaries as this kind of like icky or yucky word, but it's not like that at all. We have to set a boundary in order for things to get accomplished or things to get done. For example, the boundary of my work life would be like 8 to 5, Monday to Friday. And I do the work within that time period. I serve people. I devote my time to my job within those hours, and then after that I go home and I'm able to focus fully on myself or other things. And I need to have that particular work boundary there so that I can have the rest of my day to do my own things. And in the same way, the work needs to get done within specific hours. So without boundaries, everything would be intertwining and all over and linked, and you wouldn't know whether you're coming or going, and there is no demarcation for things to be prioritized, for things to get done, for space to be created, for the things that are significant to be worked on. So boundaries are very important. Now this is going to be very interesting, but as you are investing in your inner world and introspecting and journaling and knowing yourself better, I'm also going to suggest that you need to have a boundary around doing that, paradoxically, so that you can know yourself better. So it's really important to be invested in this introspective emotional world consistently and regularly, habitually, but to also know when to let go, sort of like a dance, like an ebb and flow. It's important to create times where you're getting to know yourself emotionally and to show up completely and fully for those moments while you are digging into the work of knowing what your triggers are or knowing what your emotional wounds are. You're journaling, you're going to therapy, you're doing homework. It's good to be fully invested in those specific spaces in your life, but to also let go. It's really important to let go because you don't want those times of emotionality to spill over into everything else. I don't know if you've ever had a moment. There was a time, I think only a month ago, that I was writing down in my journal some of the triggers that I had. And as I was writing down my triggers, because I wanted to understand them better so that when I am triggered, I'm not just reacting at the drop of a hat. I wanted to understand them better, and while I was journaling though, I felt like I was getting triggered because I was like involved in this emotional world. And then it dawned on me and I realized that, okay, while I am here in this space of getting to know myself better, I also need to know when to step away and leave that in the journal and to explore other parts of myself, or else it's all too common for that emotional work that you're doing to spill over and bleed into other things, into your interactions with other people, into circumstances that you're dealing with, such that you can't enjoy things now. So it's really important to know when to feed in and to let go. In saying this, you are a complex and multifaceted being, and these triggers and wounds and these emotional things that you might be exploring in knowing yourself, like the things that are a bit more heavy and maybe we would say more negative in nature, they don't define who you are. One struggle does not define you because you are a complex person and there's so many parts of you that are valuable and worthy, and you make up one whole. It's important not to let these practices swallow up maybe your fun side. You like to go and dance and have fun with your friends, and you don't want to be all mopey when you're doing that. There's so many parts of you that need to be expressed. So it's good to set boundaries in that regard. In creating boundaries in your emotional world, it's also important to create boundaries around areas that you feel you lose a sense of self, or you lose your self-conception, or you lose control. So for example, it's good to pay attention to areas and notice areas inside of yourself where you feel it's easy to lose yourself or to dwell or spiral. For example, maybe you spend hours on your phone scrolling, just scrolling social media or scrolling YouTube. Or maybe you spend hours like me enjoying reality television. I've had moments in my life where I could literally binge watch a whole season of a show and just lose myself to that show. Maybe just going back to the emotional side of things, maybe there's a certain behavior from your partner that makes you lose it and it makes you feel triggered. So then from these things, you need to learn how to set boundaries with yourself so that you don't lose yourself to those things. Because I think a very important way of showing up for yourself is to be mindful of the things that make you lose a sense of self. Things that happen to you and practices that you engage in that don't make you feel like yourself anymore, that make you feel like there's aspects of yourself that are being blocked because you're engaging in those behaviors either excessively, addictively, compulsively even. So those are boundaries with the emotional side of things, but there's also boundaries that you might need to set outside of yourself too. So for example, do you have a friend that's an energy vampire? Do you have a friend that, you know, they're a lovely person and of course you enjoy the friendship, but every time you spend time with them, you're so drained because they have this habit of like sharing all of their problems with you and you're their go-to person to like vent to. So that would be someone to set some type of boundary with. Like maybe you decide to hang out with that person primarily in groups, or maybe you cut down the amount of time you spend with that person, or maybe you just tell them directly how you feel so that the dynamic of that friendship could change. Maybe another boundary you might have to set is like if you're taking your work home, like you work all day 8 hours and then you're taking, you know, different circumstances and situations that happen at work home, either emotionally or physically. You're actually doing work at home that doesn't need to be done at home. Or you need to speak with your boss so that work can be finished where it needs to, or that they can put different controls in place so that you can have your evening to yourself, or anything else in your life that you feel that you need to have a boundary around. Another way that you can show up for yourself is through self-care. But I'm not gonna just leave it here. I'm not just gonna say self-care, which is like a buzzword, and I think in this day and age in mental health spaces we all know the importance of self-care. But I'm gonna add on another point, and I'm gonna say self-care that is scheduled, intentional, and non-negotiable. So this is self-care that has become a practice and a habit in your life, like brushing your teeth. And it's non-negotiable, meaning you don't cancel it. You can't cancel it actually, because you are making this commitment to yourself to care for yourself. So one example of self-care I thought about was taking yourself on dates. And these dates you cannot cancel. Just like in the same way you wouldn't want to cancel a date that you have with a friend or a partner, because if you did that, they wouldn't like it. It would be rude. You wouldn't like it because you would feel like you are not upholding your commitment to that person. In the same way, you have to uphold your commitment to yourself by not canceling your self-care plan. So self-care would look different for different people, based on your hobbies, your interests, your needs, what makes you feel very cared for. So an example of self-care could be attending a fitness class, going for a walk in the park, washing your face could be an example of self-care, doing your hair, combing your hair, using your benefits at work, using the massage, the therapy, taking a breather and leaving your house for a moment because it's very noisy in there. Maybe you have kids, family, and you just need to take a breather for 15 minutes and leave the house for a bit just to clear your mind and have some cleansing thoughts. And these self-care practices are non-negotiables because they are a way that you really care for yourself. Like if you don't do these things, you will be neglected, you won't be cared for, and there will be a risk of other things coming up to the surface. Like maybe you'll have higher stress levels, or it'll be easier for you to break down or explode because you are not giving yourself the care that you need whatever those needs might be. So self-care could be emotional things that you could do. It could be physical things that you do. It could fall in any realm, any range, but you would have to know yourself. That's why it's important for you to know yourself, because then you'll know your needs and you'll know what works best for you in terms of feeling cared for and how you can give that to yourself. So there's so much I can say about this topic of showing up for yourself, but I'm gonna make it short. This is my fourth point, and the fourth point I have here is to romanticize your life. So what do I mean by romanticize? So I looked up this word romanticize, because sometimes you have an idea of what a word means in your head, but you just want to look it up for deeper clarity. And romanticize says to make something appear better or more appealing than it is. So I thought about this definition and I was like, well, it's not quite the definition that I want, because when you romanticize your life, it's not like you are trying, well, in my estimation, it's not like I am trying to make it appear better or more appealing than it is. For me, it is appealing. For me, it is good. It is best. It is all of the things. So I want to take this definition of romanticize and use it differently, in the sense of saying, instead of making your life appear better or more appealing, I want to change this meaning to say, giving your life the importance that it already has. It already is best and better. It already is appealing. That's the framework and that's the mindset that I want to work with. So I'm going to say it's putting great weight and emphasis and importance on your life, on your thoughts, your actions, your desires. Not in a conceited way, not in a prideful way, but in a way where you acknowledge and realize that yourself, your relationship with yourself, your life is your greatest investment. Because it's yours. It's yours to control. It's yours to beautify, to use. It is art. It is a canvas that you can paint upon. It is acknowledging that you are your most important investment and your most important relationship in your life. You know those romantic comedies where they say, it is you and it's always been you. It's like you have to say that to yourself. Like, it's you, Imo, and it's always been you. It's like you have to like repeat like this mantra over and over and over in your head to understand that it's you. You are important. You are significant. Your life is significant. So romanticize the heck out of that thing. So you are in charge of your happiness, and it's important to give yourself greater responsibility and greater autonomy to create the life that you want, to create the feelings that you want, to recognize that it comes from within and that it's a journey. In romanticizing your life, it's important to return to yourself more. Don't think that the times that you have alone are not as fun or they're boring. Resolve that they will be fun and exciting. Embrace times alone as times to develop yourself, as times to take yourself out on dates, as times to enjoy your own company and understand what that means. So in romanticizing your life, it could look like not using your alone time just to like scroll or just to watch mindless TV, but doing little things that can perk you up, like creating little projects, coloring a page from a coloring book and framing it, watching an old movie, celebrating your successes. If you had a great day at work, go out, take yourself out for a meal for that evening. It's about envisioning goals and worlds for yourself, possibilities and opportunities for yourself, even those that seem outlandish and out there. Imagining that that can be your life and that is what you want for your life. Setting goals, even small ones, manageable ones, working on them one by one, day by day, and celebrating your successes as you go along. Staying with your goals and not abandoning ship, not aborting mission. And just a little tangent about your goals. It's important to create goals and visions for your life that embody who you want to be as a person. What's good, what's healthy, what's inspiring. So those could be like fitness goals, financial goals, emotional and spiritual goals, self-care, relationships, connecting with your community. Goals, romanticizing your life could even be romanticizing a future time when something no longer bothers you or triggers you. You can be working through triggers and you are setting a goal to be happier. You invest in therapy, you invest more in journaling, you're improving your self-care along the way. That's what I mean by romanticizing your life. It doesn't have to be something so out there and like so aesthetic. It can be just little things, little mental visions that you set for yourself, things that are happening mentally, emotionally, physically, that you are celebrating progress that you have made, even just romanticizing that you've woken up in the morning. And I think romanticizing has a lot to do with celebration, with gratitude, with appreciation, and just magnifying the beautiful things, the amazing things in your life, like a sunset that you might see, a dog, a child playing, the things that you are inspired by that you get to see, maximizing those things and minimizing the things that you don't want to pay much attention to. There are so many things that are always coming into our life, and we can choose what we want to magnify or what we want to minimize. So that's it for now. Those are 4 things you can do to show up for yourself more. I feel like there are so many things you can do to show up for yourself, to prioritize yourself. There's so many YouTube videos about this, I'm sure. There's so many books you can read, articles, so many different things. So I would love to hear about you. How do you show up for yourself? What does showing up for yourself mean to you? And are there practices, different things you've done in the past or do right now that you feel, as you engage in those things, you feel yourself come alive, you feel like you're honoring yourself, you feel like you're celebrating yourself? I would love to hear about them. Please share in the comments below, and please like and subscribe. Thank you so much for your support, and I will see you next time. Bye.